All right, guys, we're going to be going into 3.2, sorry, 4.2. Just to let you know, 4.2, I'm going to switch it around here, is now we're going to be talking about multiplying of decimals. Now, when we're actually going to be multiplying decimals, sometimes kids understand better with the modeling, and some people don't. So I'm going to be showing you a little bit of both. But the one thing that I do want you guys to know is that when you are multiplying decimals, the one thing you need to know is when you multiply decimals, the decimals don't need to be lined up. The only time it needs to be lined up is just when it's adding and subtracting. So do keep that in mind. All right, so it says a giant tortoise moves very slowly. They can travel a distance about 1,700 miles in 1 hour. How far could a giant tortoise move if it travels at this same speed for 4 hours? So it says to complete the statement to describe the problem, I need to know how many total miles are in blank groups of blank. All right, well, how many groups? It is actually 4 groups of 1,700ths. So to write an expression to represent this problem. So in order to solve this, I would need to take 1,700ths. That was just for 1 hour, but we're not just talking about 1 hour's worth. We are talking about 4 hours worth. So we can just times it by 4. So it says to use a decimal model to show this. Now, we were talking about decimal models. Remember, this is showing that this is your ones, that's your tenths, and this is your hundredths. So remember, this is showing that there are 17 out of 100 for 1. So therefore, it means that you are going to be shading 17, because remember, one of these is just 1 out of 100. So if I want 1,700ths, I actually have to shade in 17. So what I did is I got a whole bunch of highlighters. This is going to help me. You guys can just use light shading on one, then a little darker, then lighter, and then darker again. So you could do it that way. You don't need to have any of this, but I'm just going to do it so that it's easier for you guys to see it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be shading 17. Now remember, one column is 10. So then I'm going to do 17. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now I got 17. 1,700ths have been colored in now. But that is not it. We just didn't need one of those. We need 4 of those. So I am not just going to do 1. I now am going to do 4. So now I'm going to switch colors here. So that's showing my 1 group. So now I got to show my second group. This is just 3 plus 10 is 13. So remember, I need to get to 17. So there's 13. So here's 14, 15, 16, 17. So now there is 1,700ths. And then I'm going to go on to the next thing and show a different color. So that's 2 groups of 1,700ths. Remember, I need 4 groups of that. So now I have 4. So if I keep on going, the rest of this would be 6. So there's 6. So then 10 more, that would be 16. And then 1 more is 17. So that's another group of 17. And then I'm almost done. I'm just going to do one more group of 1700s. So in order to do one more group, I'm going to take another color. So this is going to be, the rest of this is going to be 9. And then this will be 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. All right, so that is showing 17 more. So now in order to do this, what I need to do is now it says shade a group of 17 to represent the distance. So we did that to move for 1 hour, but then use a different color to shade an additional group of 17 squares until you have how many groups of 17 squares? You should have 4 groups of 17 squares, and that's what we just did. Now you're going to record how many squares are shaded. So if you look, remember each one of these, if they're completely filled, that is 10. So this is completely filled, so that's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and now we had to go 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68. So therefore, there were 68 squares that were shaded. Now, remember that's 68 out of 100. So we need to say 68. It's not just 68, but it's 68 hundredths. So how would I write 68 hundredths? I could go ahead down here. This is 68. Remember 68 out of 100. Remember this is your ones place. There is no holes. But if you add on zeros, that is your 8 in the hundredths. So therefore you would write it like this. So it'd be 68 hundredths. Now, the other thing that you could do, and I do want to show you because we will be doing it next lesson. If you wrote 17 hundredths times 4, what I have my students do is it is just like normal multiplication. The only difference is that there is a decimal. Now, all you have to do when it comes to decimal mode is you just count how many numbers are after the decimals. So here's the decimal here, and then here's 4. Where's the decimal there? Remember, if it's not given to you, it's always at the back. But in order to do this, all you have to do is just count how many numbers are after the decimal. In this case, there's 1 number and there's 2 numbers. So therefore, what I tell my students to do is push off to the side and say, okay, there's 2 numbers after the decimal. What this means is I got to move my decimal in to make that the same here at the end of the problem. So I'm going to find my problem, and then I'm going to be moving it into places, and then now I'm going to have my answer. So let's go ahead and do this. So it'll be 4 times 7 is 28, carry your 2, and then 4 times 1 is 4, plus your 2 is 6, and then 4 times 0 is 0. And then remember, this is the answer to 17 times 4, but we have 17 hundredths times 4. So therefore, you need to move it 2 places in to make that decimal where it needs to be. So 2 places in, and then that is saying it is going to be 68 hundredths is your answer. All right, so that is what you are going to be doing today. All right, so the one thing says, explain how the product of 4 groups of 17 hundredths is similar to the product of 4 groups of 17, and how is it different? So this is a good thing for you to know what as well. Keep in mind, and I'm just to save time, I'm going to come over here. What is the same about this is that they both have 68 in the product. The thing that is different is one has a decimal and the other one doesn't. So this would be it without the decimal, would be just 68. And then when it is 17 hundredths times 4, you have to remember to move that decimal in, how many numbers that are behind the decimal, which was 2 in this case, so move it in 2 places from the back. So if you move this in 2 places from the back, it would be 68 hundredths. So that is what you do. Now, some people like to draw quick pictures. So if you are one of those people that need to see the quick pictures, again, I'm not going to make this a must for you, but some people still like the quick pictures. So remember, this is to show you one whole. This is showing a tenth. And then this one is showing your hundredths. So in this case, there are no wholes. They said you're going to do 3 groups of 46 hundredths. So there are no wholes. There are how many tenths? There are 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then how many hundredths? There are 6. So I'm going to do 6 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now they said you have to do this 3 times. So that was just once. So we have to do this 3 times. So there's 2 times, and then we're going to do it one more time. All right, so now I just did it. So now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and look and see how much I have here. So remember, in order to regroup and make another thing, I need 10 hundredths to regroup to another whole. So if I do this, this would be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, I can take these. I've got enough to regroup and make one more whole. So I'm going to make one more long. And now what do I have left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is not enough to make another. So that is what I have left over. Now I'm going to come over to my longs. Now remember, to regroup, to make a whole, I need 10 to do that. So here I have 4. Here's another 4. So that is 8. Here is 9. Here's 10. Oh, okay. So I'm going to take all of these, and now I'm going to regroup and make one whole here. I'm going to cross that out now. So when I do that, what is left? There is only 3 longs left. And then how many wholes? There is 1. And then remember, there needs to be a decimal. So if you like the model way to help you understand it, you can use it. I'm just truly not going to make you do that. However, I do want to see some type of work if you don't choose that method. So if you don't choose that method, then this is the other way I want you to show it. You can just do the way that I was showing you in the previous page. This is the other way that you could have done it. So here is my decimal for this number, and where would the decimal be on 3? If it's not given to you, remember it's after. And now you see how many numbers are after the decimals. There is none here, but there are 2. So what I make my students do is star over to the side and say 2 to remind them that after they find the answer to this, they need to move that decimal in 2 places. So now we just multiply like normal. What is 3 times 6? Now, again, if you need that multiplication chart, you need to have one. So it is very important that if you don't know your multiplication charts, you don't know your multiplication tables, which you should now, but if you don't, always have a multiplication chart next to you so you guys can do that. So I thought I had one here next to me. I do not, so I'm just going to keep on going. So 6 times 3 is 18. Carry your 1. Then the 3 goes to 4. 3 times 4 is 12. Plus 1 is 13. Carry your 1. Then you go 3 times 0 is 0. Plus 1 is 1. And then this reminding you to bring it in 2 places from the back. So 1 and 2. So your answer would be 1 and 38 hundredths. All right, so it's saying use the decimal model to help find the product. Well, this one, it was already shaded for us. Do you guys see how they shaded it darker 600ths, then a lighter 600ths, then a darker, then a lighter. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they did 5 groups of 600ths. And what did that come out to be? That came out to be 3 longs, which is 3/10. So you could have said this, or you could have also said 30 out of 100. So that would be also known as 30 hundredths. Now, again, that is what they wanted you to see that. All right, now here they want you to show that it is going to be 38 hundredths, 2 groups of them. So I'm going to get out my highlighters here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight 38 hundredths of these. So that means 3 longs and then 8. So that's 38 hundredths. All right, now the next one I'm going to do is I got to do one more group of 38. So here was one group of 38 hundredths. Now I'm going to come over here and do another group of 38. So here is 2. So if I do one column, now that's 12. One more column, that is, this would be 22. If I go another column, that would be 32. So I can still do that. Then 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. So there is my second group of 38 hundredths. So now all I have to do is count to see how many I have. So this is a full column, so that's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, then 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76. So that would be 76 out of 100. So therefore that would be 76 hundredths. So remember, make sure you bring in the decimal 2 places. So 2 places from the back. And that would be showing you 76 hundredths. Okay, I do want you to go ahead and pause this and try this one on your own and see how well you do. So if you did this one, you should have had it paused. You should have done 24, not just one group, but it should have been 4 groups of that. So I'm gonna, there's 20, and here is 24. So that is 24 right there. Then I'm gonna get out a different color and I'm gonna do another 24. So if this is, the rest of this is 6, so then this one would be 16. So then 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So then this is another 24, but I need 2 more groups of that because remember I need to do a total of 4 groups. So I'm going to do another group of that. So I need 2 to end that column. So then this, if I did this, it would be 12. If I do another one, that would be 22, then 23 and 24. Okay, and then again, we need to do one more so that we have 3 groups. So the rest of this would be 8. Oops, 8. I messed up. I shouldn't have made that big. So 8. Oh, good. It works out because 8 plus 10 more is only 18. So we're good. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So what is shaded is all but 4. So therefore, that means 100 minus 4 is 96. So therefore, 96 of these are shaded. And then remember, you need to move it out 2 places. So then that would be showing 96 hundredths, which is what it is. So that was your answer for that one. Now, it's saying that you could pick one. It says to draw a quick picture to find this. You may if you want to. Again, you don't have to. You can just simply choose either this way or multiplication method, which I was showing you, or just normal multiplication. But I do want to see at least some type of work. I don't want to just see an answer. So I will show both so you know what I'm talking about real quick. So if you chose to do the quick picture, they wanted you to write, make 62 hundredths 3 times. So there is no holes, but there are 6 tenths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a 6, and then 2 hundredths. But they wanted you to show this not just 1 time, but they want you to do it 3 times. So I'm just going to copy it another 2 times right below it. All right, so now I have it. So remember, when you are counting this, you start here. In order to regroup, you need 10. If you don't have enough, that's just your answer. So 2, 4, 6 hundredths. You don't have enough to regroup, so that is your answer. And then here, this is 5, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18. Well, we've got enough to regroup. I can go ahead and take 10 of these and then regroup it to a whole. And so what is left? I have 3 plus 5, which is 8, and then 1 whole. So this would be my answer. So you could show it that way, or you could have showed it the regular multiplication way, which is this way. So remember how many numbers are after the decimal. There's only 2 numbers after. So remember to put like a little star and 2 off to the side to remind you to move it in 2 places. So this is what I want to see if you are choosing this method. I don't want just an answer. I want you to see that you did this. You're going to be carrying numbers and that stuff. So 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 6 is 18. So when you have an 18, you're going to bring your 8 down, carry your 1 to the next number. So remember, it's a plus 1. So then you go 3 times 0 is 3, plus 1 is 1. And now you're going to bring in your decimal 2 places. So 1 and 2. So your answer is 1 and 86 hundredths, which is what it is showing. All right, so now you can choose whatever way again. Just to make this a little quicker, I'm just going to choose to do just the regular multiplication of this. Now, some people are going to say, well, wait, 4 is written first, so why don't you put that up on top? Now, it's really not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be whatever one has the most digits to put on top. It's just the proper way to write those. So remember, with the commutative property, I could switch these around and put this one first and then this one on the bottom. Remember, we don't have to line up the decimals when it comes to multiplication. So in this case, the decimal is at the end here if it is not given to you. So how many total places numbers are after both decimals? There is only 2. So off to the side over here, I'm going to remind myself that after I find my answer, I need to move it in 2 places. So here we go. First is 4 times 2 is 8. Then 4 times 3 is 12. Carry your 1. Then 4 times 0 is 4 plus 1 is, 4 times 0 is 0. So 4 times 0 is 0. Plus your 1 is 1. So is this my answer? No, it is not, because remember, I need to move my decimal 2 decimal places from the back. So now it is 1 and 28 hundredths. All right, now I'm going to skip down to number 7, so we're not going to do this one. It says Carrie has 73 hundredths liters of juice in her pitcher. Sanjaya's pitcher has 2 times as much as Carrie. Lee's pitcher has 4 times as much as Carrie's pitcher. Sanjaya and Lee pour all their juice into a large bowl. How much juice is in the bowl? All right, so first of all, it's saying to figure out Sanjaya, you have to do 2 times as much as Carrie. So remember, so I'm going to say S for Sanjaya. So you take Carrie, which was 73 hundredths, and you times it by 2. So again, if you're doing this, you're going to move it in 2 places. So that would be a 6. This would be 14, carry your 1. This 2 times 0 is 0. Plus your 1 is 1, and make sure you bring it in 2 places. So this is Sanjaya. Sanjaya has 1 46 hundredths liters. And then it says Lee. So I'm going to say L for Lee. Has 4 times as much as Carrie. So I'm going to take Carrie's, which was 73 hundredths, and I'm going to times it by 4. So to do this, again, I'm going to remind myself to move it in 2 places. So that would be 4 times 3 is 12, carry your 1. 4 times 7 is 28, plus 1 is 29, carry your 2. 4 times 0 is 0, plus 2 is 2, and then I'm going to move my decimal in 2 places, and that would be 2 and 92 hundredths liters. So that is what they both have. Now, remember, it says Sanjaya and Lee pour all their juice into a large bowl. How much juice is in the bowl? So in this case, it didn't say anything about Carrie putting it in. So therefore, we have to take Lee and Sanjaya and combine them to see how much is in the bowl. So in order to do this, I would have to add these 2 to see how much is in the bowl. So remember, when we are adding decimals, now make sure you line up the decimals. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to do 2 and 92 hundredths. Now remember, line up the decimals when you are adding and subtracting decimals. So I have my 1 on this side and then a 4 and a 6 after. So that's how I line up everything. Now I go ahead and add. 6 plus 2 is 8. 9 plus 4 is 13. Carry your 1. Now that is 1 plus 1 plus 2 is 4. And then bring down your decimal. So therefore it is 4 and 38 hundredths liters are what is inside that bowl. All right, so now I'm going to move on to the next thing. So if you did this, it says each day a bobcat drinks about 3 times as much water as a Canada goose drinks. How much water can a bobcat drink in a day? So if you come over here, it says, now this is average liters per day that each animal drinks. So in this case, it says a Canadian goose is 24 hundredths. And it says that a bobcat drinks 3 times as much as a Canadian goose. So remember, a Canadian goose was 24 hundredths. And then we would times it by 3 to figure out a day's worth for a bobcat. So remember, when you do this, make sure you say, I need to bring it in 2 places. You got to see how many decimal places need to be pushed in. And now you just multiply it like normal. What is 3 times 4? That is 12. Carry your 1. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7, and 3 times 0 is 0. And then you move it in 2 places from the back. So your answer is 72 hundredths liters. All right, now the next thing, it says a river otter drinks about 5 times as much of water as a bald eagle drinks in one day. So 5 times as much as a bald eagle. How much water can a river otter drink in 3 days? All right, so remember it says 5 times as much as a bald eagle in 1 day. So let's see what a bald eagle does in a day. It is 1700. So this is just a day's worth for a river otter, but that's not what it's asking. The actual question is saying what is 3 days worth. So this is just going to give us 1 day. So in order to figure out 3 days worth, I would have to times it by 3. So first I'm going to figure out this part first. So just to do this, I'm going to times it by 1600 times 5. Remember, look at how many numbers are after the decimals. There's only 2. So I'm going to be moving it in 2 places after it. So this would be 30, carry your 3. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 3 is 8, and 5 times 0 is 0. And then you move it in 2 places. So that would be 80 hundredths. But that was just only a day's worth. Now we have to times it by 3 to figure out 3 days worth. So now I'm going to do that over here. Again, check to see how many decimal places need to be moved in. It is only 2 because there's only 2 numbers after the decimal. All right, so 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 8 is 24. Carry your 2. 3 times 0 is 0. Plus 2 is 2. And then you move it in 2 places. So you could have said 2 and 40 hundredths liters, or you could have just said 2 and 4/10 liters. It didn't matter which one, they're still the same thing. So you could have said this, or you could have kept that 0 at the end as well. So it didn't matter which one you wanted to say. All right, now it says an animal shelter provides a bowl of 1 and 2500 liters of water for 3 cats. About how much water will be left after the cats drink their average daily amount of water? So this is what they left out for 3 cats. So they said after they drink their daily amount. So if you come over here and you look for cat, oh, here it is. Average cat, just one, does 15 hundredths of a liter a day. But we don't just have one, we have 3. So now we have to do 15 hundredths times by 3 to figure out what they would drink in a day. So you would times that by, make sure you say, I need to move it over 2 places. So 5 times 3 is 15, carry your 1. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. And 3 times 0 is 0. And then you move it in 2 places. So this is how much they would drink for a day's worth. And now they want to know how much would be left after they drink their daily amount. So this would be 3 cats' daily amount. So then you would take it away from what is in that bowl. So we would have to subtract to figure out what is left over. Now remember, when you're subtracting decimals, the biggest thing to remember is always line up your decimals. Bring down your decimal. All right, so 5 minus 5 is 0. 2, take away 4, you can't do that. And now it's 12 minus 4 is 8, and then 0. So therefore, this is 80 hundredths of a liter would be left. All right, now I want you to try this one on your own. So please pause the video and try this on your own to see if you got it right. So if you did it on your own, this is what you should have gotten. You should have went and did 3 groups of 14 squares. So that was 1 group. This is 2 groups. Here's your 3rd group of 14 squares. And then here is what you should have had was 42 small squares, which would came out to be 42 hundredths, would have been your answer. All right, so on your homework tonight, what I want you to do is do a do a few here. First of all, I would have done this one for you. And I am actually going to have you do number 3 for homework. So do circle that. 5 and 7 and 9 will be for homework. And 8, cross out 10, and 6. All right, now just to save some time because my battery is getting low here, I am just going to switch it over to show you what would have been this first one. So in order to do this first one, you should have done 27 hundredths, not just one group, but you would have done 3 groups of that. So if you would have used highlighters, colored pencils, different shading, 3 groups of them of 27, it would have showed you that you would have had 81 of those shaded. So that would have been 81 out of 100. So therefore 81 hundredths was your answer. All right, so now I'm going to go over to this next part and I'm going to do this one with you. It just says find the product. It says draw a quick picture. I will say you don't have to. Don't have to do that. However, you must do either this or do multiplication work. Multiplication work. So you're either going to be showing me a quick picture way or a multiplication way. Don't just give me an answer. So in this case, I am going to put the one that has the most digits up on top, times it by 2. And then now I'm going to look to see how many numbers are after the decimal. There is only 1. So I'm going to come over here and say 1 to remind myself I need to move it in 1 after I find my answer. So 8 times 2 is 16. Carry my 1. Then 2 times 0 is 0 plus 1 is 1. And then I'm going to move my decimal in 1 place. So therefore it'd be 1 and 6 tenths. So you can do a quick picture or you can do that. It is up to you. All right, the next thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to do this one with you. It says, what multiplication sentence does this model represent? Well, if you look, you can see what was shaded in dark. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hundredths. Then the next one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is just a different shade. So there was one group, here is 2 groups, here is a 3rd group, and here is a 4th group. So there is 4 groups, but we're going to times it by 6 hundredths. Now remember, this is not 6 hundredths, this is 6 tenths. Remember, when you're saying 6 hundredths, you need to have that 0 in place of there. And then what did your answer come out to be? It came out to be 24 out of 100. So therefore that would have been 24 hundredths. So the ones that I want you to do on this page is 2, 3, and 5. And then I'm going to do this one with you. It says Ella and 3 friends run in a relay race that is 14 miles long. Each person runs in equal parts of the race. How many miles does each person have to run? So Ella and 3 friends. Well, that comes out to be 4 people. So keep that in mind, are going to go 14 miles. So we got to see how many 4s are going to go into this 14. We got to divide this evenly amongst everybody. So I'm going to take 14 and I'm going to divide it amongst 4 people. Can 4 go into 1? No, it cannot. Can it go into 14? Yes, 3 times. 3 times 4 is 12. When you subtract, that would be 2 miles out of 4 left. So therefore, it is very important in this case that you don't just say 3, because if you say 3 times 4, that would only get them to 12 miles, and that would not get them to the goal of 14. So therefore, it is very important that you keep this remainder. So you'd be 2/4, so 3 2/4 miles. But if you do reduce it down, what can go into both 2 and 4 evenly is 2. Again, I really don't want you to do this year, but I do want to show you it. So how many 2's go into 2? That would be 1. And how many 2's go into 4? That would be 2. So really the same thing as saying 3.5 miles. So you could have said one of these two and you would have been fine. That's how much each person had to go. And you will not be doing number 6, so you can cross that out. All right, and that is it for 4.2. All right, I'm going to pause it. Bye, guys.